Singapore is an island city-state located in Southeast Asia at the tip of Malaysia. It gained its independence from Great Britain in 1963 and currently has a unitary, parliamentary, constitutional republic in place as their government. Singapore is an intriguing country to study because it is very small, yet has a strong, fast-growing economy. We chose to research this country because of their unique approach to trade and economic growth. Although Singapore does not have many natural resources available to them, they are heavily endowed in capital, skilled labor, and technology. Three of their major economic sectors are financial services, chemicals, and electronics. Singapore's GDP has increased by more than 300% since 1999, and in 2012 ranked 40th in the world with a GDP of $326.7 billion. Their inflation rate is 4.4%, and their unemployment rate is 2%, both low figures that indicate a stable economy and have fluctuated very little over the past 12 years. Singapore's trade and FDI are responsible for their economic growth and stability, with the majority of FDI coming from the financial, insurance, and manufacturing sectors. The primary source countries for these investments are Europe and other Asian countries. Singapore's monetary policy is based off of their exchange rate, which is a floating rate instead of a fixed rate. Their open economy encourages large amounts of international financial flows, which affect the manufacturing, financial, and commerce sectors of their economy.
Singapore is one of the most open countries in the world in terms of trade and capital flows. These open policies make Singapore prone to large inflation rates. However, their non-internalization policy of the Singapore dollar restricts their international use of their currency and protects it from attacks on their monetary policy, which is based on their exchange rate. There are no tariffs imposed on imports, and domestic and foreign businesses are treated the same under the law. The government has opened their domestic market to foreign banks, and about 100 to 120 commercial banks are now foreign. Because Singapore lacks natural resources and is relatively small, foreign direct investment and trade play large roles in the economy. The most important sectors of FDI that Singapore operates in are the financial, insurance, and manufacturing sectors. These sectors primarily see investment from Europe and Asia, who account for 61.3% of total FDI. Singapore's trade policies are also reflective of its small geographic size. It primarily exports mineral fuels, chemical and chemical products, as well as machinery and equipment. Its trading partners are generally Malaysia, Hong Kong, and China, respectively. The Singapore government wants to attract more FDI because without it, their economy would not be the powerhouse it is today. Their geographic limitations create a need for investment from companies, and the financial and insurance services contribute 42.7% of total FDI, generally through investment holding. Additionally, manufacturing sectors were 21.2% of total FDI, with pharmaceutical products and electronic products and components making up 56.1% of FDI in manufacturing. Singapore's policy on migration, however, is not always as liberal. While Singapore encourages the immigration of highly skilled foreign labor, or talent, through a low corporate tax rate, 17%, and no capital or dividend taxes, they try to stem the amount of immigration from low-skilled workers. For their exchange rate policy, Singapore uses a basket, band, crawl, float system instead of a fixed system. The Singapore dollar is managed against a basket of currencies of its major trading partners and competitors, and the various countries are assigned different weights depending on the extent of Singapore's trade dependencies on them. In addition, they operate a managed float regime for the Singapore dollar, allowing it to fluctuate within a policy band, making it relatively stable. The US dollar, the yen, and the euro impact the Singapore dollar the most. However, the US dollar has the largest impact because Singapore relies on US capital in order to stabilize their economy.
The growth of Singapore's economy is greatly owed to their open policies regarding trade, capital inflows, and FDI. Their macroeconomic policy is careful and forward-facing, which combined with their stable political and legal policies adds to their success and economic freedom. The financial market has become much more competitive in Singapore due to their openness to global trade and investment. This competitive factor gives the investment market more of an edge on the global scale because it is more attractive to investors both foreign and domestic. Without open policies, Singapore would not be able to engage in the current rate of trade, FDI, or capital investment. These policies play a large role in dictating the current state of their economy because it relies so heavily on real and monetary inflows and outflows. In general, Singapore policies on FDI, migration, and trade help create a dynamic economy that is flexible to financial crises and downturns. Much of its success can be attributed to its abundance in skilled capital, as well as its government's unique approach to capitalism. By balancing liberal economic policies with macroeconomic management and legislation, Singapore has created an economy that demonstrates the power of free trade. The restrictions that Singapore has put in place regarding the international use of domestic currency benefits them greatly because it protects their monetary system, which is based on exchange rates. Without these restrictions, foreign countries are unable to hold large amounts of Singapore currency offshore in order to try and disrupt the exchange rate. Overall, we can see that Singapore benefits greatly from global trade and financial interactions, and that these benefits outweigh the losses that the country has. Their openness to trade and capital flows is the most beneficial aspect of their economy, and allows for the country to grow and benefit from outside resources since their own resources are so limited. If Singapore were to impose higher tariffs or other trade barriers, then they would be unable to continue to be a major hub for trading in Southeast Asia, and their economy would suffer since they are such a small country. In addition, if Singapore were to limit trade, their overall economy would lose because the price of goods would go up if they were to only be produced domestically. As long as Singapore maintains their open trade and capital flow policies, their economy will continue to grow and prosper.